God bless you guys. Welcome to another Thursday's Thought. You gonna say hello?
God bless you guys.
So this week we're doing something a little bit different. We were talking earlier this week about trying to do a question answers type of Thursday's Thought. So we put out 4 topics for you guys, and this one was the one that you guys responded to or voted on the most. So we're doing a study on the devil's tactics against gender and generation. So we're just gonna kind of get started, and for future reference, we want this to be mostly your questions, and so that we have the time to research and kind of sift through the Bible as to what would be helpful for us to give to you guys. So in the upcoming times that we do a question, like a Q&A type video, feel free to just submit your questions on the Instagram account, and we will put that down so that we can answer them. We have talked about maybe trying a live video, but we'll get there when we get there. And if you want to say something before we...
En otras palabras, lo que estamos haciendo hoy, como ustedes ya saben, se les dieron 4 temas a los jóvenes. Esto es lo que las personas querían un poquito más de información, o les interesaba un poquito más. Las tácticas del diablo, las tácticas del enemigo, ¿no? Esto es lo que nosotros tenemos, y también en el futuro tal vez podemos hacer algo como un chat para que podamos discutir algún tópico, algún tema, que tal vez ustedes tengan un poco más de preguntas. Lo empezamos a hacer con el Brother Melvin cuando estábamos arriba. Tratando de contestar cualquier pregunta que ustedes tenían, pero ahora como se le dio a nuestra hermana Maritza también esa idea de lograr tocar esos temas que a veces son un poco jugosos, se puede decir. Vamos a nosotros a aportar un poquito de lo que nosotros sabemos para que ustedes también tengan un poquito más de información.
We're going to do our best to make this bilingual. I'm going to also try to speak Spanish as much as I can. We're just going to start with reading a verse in Proverbs. You can read it first.
Yeah. Yo voy a leer el verso en Proverbios. Este está en Proverbios capítulo 3. Vamos a leer del verso 5 al 7. Si ustedes quieren agarrar una Biblia, tienen unos cuantos segundos. Si están manejando, tal vez en su trabajo, escuchando este pensamiento del jueves, está bien, pero está en el Proverbios capítulo 3, versículo 5 al 7. Leemos la palabra en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo y decimos:
Amén.
Amén. Fíate de Jehová de todo tu corazón y no te apoyes en tu propia prudencia. Reconócelo en todos tus caminos, y Él enderezará tus veredas. No seas sabio en tu propia opinión. Teme a Jehová y apártate del mal.
So I'm going to read it in English. You start at 5. So we read the word, honoring the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. We say...
Amen.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own understanding. In all your ways know him, and he will make your paths straight. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, God,
for your love and mercy,
for allowing us this privilege, Lord, for giving us the guidance that you want us to give. I know this world right now is being attacked with all sorts of different things, and I think Satan's main weapon is confusion, Lord, and doubt. He's realized that he could not remove the church, so what is he doing? He's trying to confuse the church. He's trying to bring doubt into the minds of the church and of the Christians, especially our youth, God. We beg you, Lord, to bring clarity with your Holy Spirit, Lord, to bring that clarity, that certainty, to increase our faith, Lord, to help us understand, to be stronger tomorrow than we are today, Lord. Break down any darkness. Break down any strongholds, Lord. In the name of Jesus, Lord, we beg you. Amen. Amen.
So this is going to be as informal, right? Vamos a ser bien informal. Vamos a tratar de hablar con ustedes como que si fuéramos en persona, de la mejor manera de que podamos. So, desde el principio habíamos mencionado que the devil's tactics, so, que son las tácticas del enemigo, right, del diablo. Y habíamos pensado en el género, so el gender, y también la generación, the generation. And I think that kind of in our conversations, and even within our lives, that we've recognized the difference of how the enemy tries to attack a female in one way and then attacks a male in a whole different way, or sometimes even the same. So we were just going to touch on a little bit of those things. To start, I think that one of the examples that I was reading about was in 1 Samuel chapter 1, and I'm just going to take a second to explain a little bit of it. So there's a guy, his name is Elkanah. I don't know how to say that.
Elkanah.
Oh, okay. So,
vamos a tocar ese tema un poquito de cerca del género y es una gran controversia hoy. La última vez que que escuché, no me acuerdo cuántos tipos de géneros la gente tenía hoy para escoger. Entonces, nuestro hermano Maritza quiere compartir algo que ella leyó en Primera de Samuel con Elkanah.
So, Elkanah has two wives. Él tenía dos esposas, Ana y Penina. So in English it's Hannah and Penina. I think that's how you read it. So Penina had children and Hannah didn't. So in those times, the husband would go and make sacrifices, giving things, and then return to give his wives a piece of the sacrifice, or gave portions, right? So now we know that no hay, in what we practice and in our morals and ethics, los hombres no tienen dos esposas, solo tienen a una. Pero en este tiempo había persona en particular, este hombre tenía dos esposas. Y una tenía hijos y la otra no. So lo que Penina hizo es de que en la Biblia habla como her rival, so su
rival.
Yeah. Would make fun of her. In chapter 1, verse 6, it says, her rival would taunt her severely just to provoke her, because the Lord had kept Hannah from conceiving. So whenever she went up to the Lord's house, her rival taunted her in this way every year. Hannah wept and would not eat. So lo que pasaba era de que Penina, I don't know how you say taunt, like...
Le agredía.
Okay, so... como ella tenía hijos y la otra mujer no tenía hijos. And then, so as I was thinking about this, some of the things that the enemy tries to do with females is to make you compare yourself to another female, right? Like this constant, and we've had this conversation, like this constant, like, I don't feel like I'm enough, or I have all this pressure, right? Like back in the day, it could have been that this pressure of like, you have to give birth, right? You have to have kids. Back then, that was their...
Si no, la mujer se consideraba maldita.
Yeah, so it's like this huge pressure and expectation of like, your only purpose is to have children.
Las mujeres se consideraban que solo servían, se puede decir así, solo para dar a luz, solo para tener hijos. ¿Sí? Pero no solamente, I'm going to disagree a little bit on that, porque el hombre también a veces se compara al otro hombre.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Entonces, la mujer creo que es más como involucrada con sus emociones y todo eso. El chico es más como de orgullo, de pride, ¿no? Entonces, una mujer se empieza a comparar con la otra mujer, como dices tú, pero también en los hombres existe
So what I'm wondering is con las mujeres, yo lo siento como que it's like, what does she have that I don't have?
Mm-hmm.
Or I want what she has.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like I'm not enough, so I won't be valued or attracted and be like, people won't find me attractive and things like that. Is the male perspective more a competitive part?
Mm-hmm. Sí, yo pienso que sí.
Okay. So, yo creo por parte del hombre es
Más
no
competitivo.
no es tanto like que lo que él tiene que yo no tengo, sino de que una manera de pensar las cosas más competitivo.
Uh-huh. Competitivamente. Sí.
Entonces, yo creo que al raíz de ese problema, y tal vez dentro de, I don't know, it could be in the male part, but in the female side of things, siempre se llega a la raíz porque tú no tienes not self, propio valor,
Uh-huh.
which is like in English would be self-worth,
Self-worth.
to value yourself, and then so you...
No te valoras tú mismo.
Right, so then you get to this point of like, I'm not like this female,
uh-huh.
So I'm not good where I'm at. Right,
no
like
soy
I'm
lo
not...
suficientemente valiosa.
Yeah, compared to this person.
Uh-huh.
But I think what's interesting is that when you talk to like a room full of girls, they all think that way.
Todas tienen el mismo pensamiento.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, like the enemy, as if he's trying to say like, he's messing with your mind. It's always mind tricks, right? That's the whole point. It's tactics. So it's like he's always messing with your mind to make you feel like you're the only one.
Como Adán y Eva. Es como que tú eres la única. Que sí, como que te trata de apartar y de ponerte ese pensamiento de que todos te están viendo y juzgando o estás sola. Y también como Adán y Eva. Me imagino que la estrategia que usó Satanás con la mujer, ¿verdad? Pero con Adán, ¿qué estrategia diferente hubiera usado? You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Entonces, ¿qué le hubiera ofrecido? ¿Le hubiera ofrecido carros, casa, un bienestar para su familia? No sé.
Right, porque le quiero, como la palabra habla como un hombre, like the responsibility part of things or feeling that carga encima, like I think with the girls, it's more that like le llegó al oído. Y eso es como le llegas a una mujer.
You be a goddess. Vas a ser una diosa.
Right.
Sí.
So, and I had that point too, like he's luring her in, I'm sorry.
Como atrayendo.
Y después, like, minimizando like, minimizing the obedience, the part of obedience, because God is saying, don't do this. So it's minimizing the part of obedience, which then...
Minimizando la parte de obediencia, que es la más importante, porque
right.
Dios dice, yo quiero obediencia.
Yeah, mejor que sacrificio. Because it's kind of like in my concept, or in the way I think about it, it's like God is saying, I don't want you to continue to say sorry to me. I want you to actually just listen.
Que seas obediente.
Right.
Yo no quiero que te sigas disculpando, quiero que seas obediente.
So with that, like the way the enemy tries to get in a woman's ear, the way that the enemy tries to manipulate the mind of a female, knowing that she has so much ability. Like if it wasn't, like you said, if it wasn't for her, would Adam would have done it on his own?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he would have tried a different tactic.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like he knew, I get her, I'll grab him. So it's like she has the ability to do that. To pull her husband or pull someone else, not just like, I'm not trying to just get into marriage because this is specific.
Vamos a orar por Adán porque...
Yeah, but it's not, I'm not trying to get like so much into marriage, but more so like in the females, that females have the ability to like get other people involved, to influence, right? Like just like Jezebel, she had the ability to influence.
For good or for bad. Para bien o para mal.
Right, exactly. So I feel like then the enemy knows that, right? The girl doesn't know I've got all this ability to do that, but the enemy does. So then he pulls that against her to be like, I want you to use this part of you, this characteristic that you have that God deposited in you for good, and I want you to use it for other reasons or in other ways.
Dios deposita ese talento en nosotros. A veces que nosotros no lo entendemos, o sabes, ni nosotros ni sabemos que lo tenemos.
Right.
Entonces quiero que usamos ese, y Satanás se aprovecha de eso, porque ese talento que Dios te dio, Satanás lo quiere usar para afuera en el mundo. Pero por eso es clave este versículo. En toda esta conversación que vamos a tener, este versículo es la llave para abrir esa puerta o para abrir esa bendición, porque dice, fíjate de Jehová de todo tu corazón. Cuando está hablando de corazón, está hablando de los sentimientos, de las emociones,
Yeah,
de
the
cómo
feelings.
el humano funciona, de cómo, como decía nuestra hermana Maritza, de la mujer que le gustaba escuchar hasta cierto punto, que puso la herencia o el premio, se puede decir, que Satanás le hizo creer en vez de la obediencia a Dios. Allí puedes tocar
Lot.
múltiples de ideas, múltiples, un sinfín de ideas que te ayudan a pensar más con las emociones. Esa es clave,
It's
esa es
huge,
clave.
yeah.
Cuando nosotros pensamos más con nuestras emociones que con el Espíritu Santo, que con lo que Dios nos guía. A veces nosotros sabemos lo que Dios nos ha dicho, sabemos lo que tenemos que hacer, sabemos la decisión correcta y al final del día, ¿qué pasa? Hacemos lo incorrecto.
Mm-hmm.
¿Por qué? Es que yo me sentí enojado, entonces yo tenía que desahogarme, yo tuve que decirle cosas, yo tuve que vengarme, yo tuve que buscarla y decirle en el Facebook que la... Yeah.
No, but I think that's a good point because I think that when it comes to females, like the way that we express, and not just females, but I'm just like the way you express yourself sometimes it's kind of like, why is it so not expected, pero ¿por qué tienen en la mente tanto de que solo las mujeres hacen los chismes? Why? Why?
Los hombres también,
But-
vamos a
yeah.
hablar por eso, hombres, pero la cosa es que no es tan común en los hombres.
I don't know.
Ah, ok.
But
No
but
sé
I'm
si
just
vamos a preguntarle a la hermanita Marisa.
But I'm just saying, like, at the same time, when you think about that, there's certain things, like specific sins, that are, for some reason, applicable more to females. And then there's some sins that are, like, applicable more to males. So it's like, oh, I'm una mujer. Oh, que chisme. That's normal. Okay. Un hombre que fornica. Oh, that's normal. But you switch the things, and it's like everybody goes out of there. They just can't.
¿No pueden funcionar?
No, they just can't put it together. They're like, wait, why is this guy chismando? That's so weird. Or then why is this female fornicando? Like, that's horrible. Like, he did the same thing, or she's doing the same thing. What's the... So I think that there's this, like, concept that is misinterpreted, or just has...
Y ese punto es cultura.
Yeah, that's true.
Cultura.
Mm-hmm.
Simplemente cultura. Por eso este verso
Mm-hmm.
es como comérselo. Mira, fíjate de Jehová de todo tu corazón. O sea, cuando la mente y tu corazón y tus emociones te están diciendo, haz esto, pero tú sabes que Dios te está diciendo, no hagas eso, haz esto. Fíjate de Jehová con todo tu corazón. Entonces arrastra tu corazón en obediencia a Dios.
Mm-hmm.
Se oye como que yo soy angelito. No. Yo también.
Mm-hmm.
Yo
No,
también.
I mean, I think it's everyone, right?
Todos.
Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
At that part.
Y no te apoyes en tu propia prudencia. Esta versión dice tu propia prudencia. ¿Qué quiere decir prudencia? Cuando alguien prudencia es como alguien que es sabio, que tiene, oh mira, yo tengo un trasfondo de todos estos títulos, yo he pasado tantas experiencias, yo soy una persona muy sabia. Eso también te puede llevar al fracaso. Dice, no en tu propia prudencia, in what you think is right. Oh, I'm prudent. I'm very smart. I'm slow to speak. Do not rely on that.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you have nothing. In other words, nada. So, we need God.
Yeah.
Right? Pues dice, todo lo que tú piensas, todas tus emociones, toda tu sabiduría, tu extra cerebro que tenés, no, tráetelo a los pies de Dios.
So I think within that, that's why we're trying to just focus more so like on what the word says or what experiences the word has, or maybe personal experiences for us also. Because the first thing I thought, like with the devil's tactics against females, like lo primero que me vino a la mente is like just the self-worth, the value, the comparison to other women, and the pressures and the expectations. Like right now, I was having a conversation with friends, and I realized that we graduated high school 17 years ago.
17?
is it 13 or 17? I don't know, but it was like so much longer than what I realized. It was 2007. We're in 2020. I'm gonna let you do that math. It's 13 years ago. So I was like taken back because I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm in this other stage of life, right? Like
Nah.
I'm in another stage of life. But I don't think that that really matters because like I'm trying to focus on just the gender, and I think that regardless of maybe like if I struggle with those thoughts when I was in high school, like or even in college, like is what is the expectation that I have as a Hispanic, as a female, as like a sister, as whatever, like those are the expectations as a mom, like those are expectations that are crazy. But within that, I thought like the way that Anna or Hannah, I think in English it's Hannah, and Benina, like the demonstration that the word has of like comparison. La comparación no es nada nuevo, sino que ha llegado y de que la manera que ella se sintió, que Ana dice like que she cried and she wouldn't eat, that feeling that you get of like I have no purpose and I have no worth, or like I'm only worth what I can give to someone else, or like I'm dependent on what someone else thinks of me. And I'm not trying to only say like that females only depend on what a male says. I'm saying like you're so it can be anybody in your life. Like it could be your parents, it could be like someone that you que tienes alto estima para esa persona. Sí. So siempre estás diciendo si ellos no me aceptan, si ellos no me valoran, como que no soy, I can't.
Y
like,
solo te valoran por lo que vales, por lo que
right,
tienes.
Right, exactly. So ese concepto de que yo no puedo alcanzar el amor porque
no tengo mucho que ofrecer.
Yeah, y también de que no tengo, like, tengo que trabajar por el amor. Y eso es algo que había mencionado en otro like Thursday, tengo que trabajar por el amor. Y como que la mujer trabaja tanto para like servir a otros, para buscar el acceptance.
La aceptación.
Yeah, y el amor de alguien más, que se pierde ella misma en quién es ella, porque está tratando de conquistar o whatever, like get someone else's attention. And again, it's not just a male, puede ser un padre, un familiar, algún maestro, porque ese maestro dice that you've got so much potential, like get to this here, and you're like, I can't, I'm not enough, I'm not, for some reason, like I can't reach that. So like there's just this impossible thing, right? También otra cosa, like I don't know if you want to take a minute and like mention something about the guy, and then I'll go into this, or if you want to feed off of like once I say that you can go into like the male perspective of things.
Acerca del género?
Yeah, just like the devil's tactics against a male, like for me, and it could be also like I think that's more generational. The society, like the outside atmosphere of like the drugs, the alcohol, the party, the fitting in, and the belonging, like all those things that encompass that. Eso es todo del generation, or like humano, digamos, right? Pero específicamente atacando un hombre. ¿Cómo es que le llega el enemigo? Porque los ejemplos que hemos visto de que, por lo que no tengo, like Ana no tenía, entonces tenía ese problema y ese like feeling on the inside of like, all I want to do is give up because I can't eat and all I want to do is cry, right? Y después de Eva, de que el enemigo le llegó por medio de palabras, just a really subtle, sneaky way of getting in there. So un hombre, depending on how you guys, like the way you guys are wired, is different. So like, what are the tactics, or how can you, from that side of the world?
Yeah. So culture has a lot to do with this. One main thing that I saw in my time, because I've happened to see a few different generations because I was born in Guatemala. I was there enough to see, some things. I was 11, and then come here and was able to experience a teenager life.
I feel like they need their own. You know how there's Generation Z and there's millennials and like everything else that I don't know of? Like, They need their own like name.
Right, but here's the thing. People try to label. Tratan de poner etiquetas, ¿no? Poner etiquetas en ciertas cosas para que sea fácil para entender. If it was English, I'll say easy to digest. Um, so depending on the culture, right? The thing I see that's most prevalent where I'm here now with the Hispanic community with the older folks is mainly alcohol. Mainly alcohol, right?
Is that just the generation or is that males?
That's males.
Okay. Oh, previous generation. I got you.
Yeah. So, and if you would travel to a different place in Guatemala, it was more like different drugs, right? Like people sniffing glue and all that stuff. But it wasn't, as known as today, like heroin, cocaine, so many different types of marijuana, and legalized though in some states. Los jóvenes, lo que yo he visto en las generaciones de allá, de la generación de antes, el alcohol era lo más conveniente, lo más normal, lo más regular. Pero ya los jóvenes de acá son como tienen su propia. Y el lenguaje también en español, pero si ya le hablas a los jóvenes de hoy en día en español, no, sí, pero tal vez te van a tomar como otro adulto más. Pero si logras comunicar como cuando tú tratas de la consejería de lo que yo hacía de los jóvenes en mi trabajo secular, es que cuando trates de darle información, trata de dársela en un lenguaje que ellos puedan entenderlo.
Get on their level.
Meet the client where it's at. It's the social work perspective. Entonces, les estás dando la misma información. ¿Por qué crees que habían 4 evangelios? Mateo, Marco, Lucas, Juan. Entonces, son diferentes. ¿Por qué? Porque cada evangelio hablaba a diferente población, a diferentes personas. Uno hablaba a los judíos, otro a los griegos, otros porque de tal manera movió Dios al mundo, Juan 3:16. Entonces, todos estaban diciendo lo mismo. Jesús es el autor y el consumador de la fe, es el punto de nuestra salvación. Pero tenías que darle información de una manera diferente. Y ahora la gente incluso dice, eso es para los judíos. Right? Entonces, y también con eso hay que tener mucho cuidado qué pasó con los judíos, cómo nos aplica a nosotros y todo eso. Pero eso es una predicación aparte. Como extrañamos a nuestros hijos. Entonces, now, right, for you guys, the ones that I can communicate with.
Yeah, the males.
The males. Times are changing, and one thing I see now, it's more peer pressure. And people trying to fit in.
I think that's just like.
Deep inside, you don't agree with what your friends are doing, but you be labeled as a punk, or as many other different words that I won't bother mentioning, right? Or they might not even care that you're there, but you think that they might say something, when in reality they don't really care, and you think that you want to, just like you were saying with the females, you want to
get accepted.
You want to feel accepted, right? And so you start doing things like, I don't know, in some cases I've seen people acting up, like fighting other kids just to feel accepted by other kids. Drinking or stealing beer from 7-Eleven. Just to try, look what I got you guys, trying to steal for other people just so they can, you feel like, oh, he's cool because he gives me beer. He's cool because he smokes weed with me. Hey, you alright, man. You know what? You alright. We can hang out. Because as long as you keep giving me stuff, we good. Right? So, a lot of it is you want to feel accepted by a certain group. And you want to feel that, you want to feel valued inside. You want to see that people value you. And you want to fit in, and you want to, maybe you don't even think Fortnite is cool. Maybe Fortnite, you think it's a dumb game. I know everybody loves it, apparently. But maybe you don't. So, but since everybody else does, you're gonna be like, man, if I say
You're gonna
something,
try it.
you have to.
Yeah.
You know, because if I say something, what are they gonna say about me? What are they gonna think about me?
But then, so then going off that, I know that like when I think about guys, I think of like this brotherhood related thing. This, you know what I mean? And then is that why they end up whether because when I think about it, like why is it? And now there is a lot of women in gangs, but males like they go one like you got two rows and they're going this way. Why do you see so much more or like males active in gangs?
Eso viene de las familias. Por
Mm.
eso es que esa es una táctica tan fuerte de Satanás. Mira, Satanás funciona así. Ataca el matrimonio. Logra romper el matrimonio. El hombre se ve en el alcohol porque la mujer se fue con otro hombre. Un ejemplo de, no de lo que me han contado, lo que yo he visto. El hombre golpea a la mujer en otras ocasiones. El chico ve la violencia y empieza creciendo ver violencia. El chico comienza a meterse a peleas at school. He starts fighting people at school. And people are like, why? Why all of a sudden you started fighting, you started being all aggressive. You used to be a really calm kid. Well, his parents are separated. Or he saw his dad beat his mom, right? Or mom can be a drinker too. Mom is all drunk, like she's all high, right? So nowadays it's normal for the woman to also be doing drugs. So he's looking at all this. He has a lot of anger inside. So he starts acting up, right? So what happens? Oh, I want a sense of belonging because I don't feel good at home. I want to feel good at school. So let me hang out with this group of people. So and so is hanging out with this certain gang now or with this certain group now. So and it feels good when people, back up when he walks around because he's hanging out with certain people. So it's a tactic. You just like here's this is Satan himself saying, if I destroy the family, I can destroy generations and I can destroy a lot more than that. Because I caused one divorce, this kid is gonna grow up and he's gonna think divorce is normal. And then I'll go again and I'm thinking all throughout generations and generations we're gonna have people who are never married and whoever get divorced and we're all getting divorced.
So then when it comes to males, like when you were talking, I kind of just randomly thought of this. Like there's this thing of like dominance, right? Like the male figure is dominant, in in the mind of many.
To an extent, también se puede estar en la depresión porque el chico puede tomar la otra ruta cuando quizás los padres se estaban peleando, se separaron. So he goes into depression mode. He wants to be alone.
Like la oscuridad.
La oscuridad, darkness,
Yeah.
So he starts doing drugs. He starts self-harming. Self-harming. That's a demon. That's a demon that wants to destroy your body.
I mean, I think that's females and males, definitely.
Yeah. Self-harming is kind of gives you the sense of worthlessness, which is not. Here's the thing. Jesus said that you were worth giving his life. If the God of all creation decides to give his life for you, chances are you're worth a lot, man. I'm just being real. I'm just calling it by what it is. If he decided, this is for girls and boys, males and females. If he decided that you were worth dying for, to a point that it reminds me of that one preaching that I gave last time. He loves you. He loves you past your understanding, or somewhere along the lines, where he could have alleviated his pain a little bit, but he decided not to, because he wanted to love you just that much until the end.
Yeah, I think that also like the word talks about how yes, the man is again, I'm not trying to go to marriage, pero like cabeza de hogar. Pero el hombre es instruido de esa forma, de que tú vas a tomar esos tipos de responsabilidades y cosas así. Y la palabra también dice de que el hombre también tiene que servir, a su esposa, a su familia, a su, you know, and familia no significa just his kids, but I'm saying like if you're the younger brother, like if you're this or you're that, there's so many stories, you know, just like Joseph, de que él era el hermano menor. Y había 12 varones, so you're just like, well, what? There's a lot of guys in one house, you know what I'm saying? So el enemigo empieza, eso es un buen ejemplo de hablar de cómo el enemigo empieza a decir, like,
Worthlessness.
Right, de que es de competencia, de que supuestamente el mayor es el que toma, you know, the herencia, all those things, but it's who.
Depende sí, en la cultura judía. Sí.
Right, so then it's like in this specific story, it's el menor que Dios usa con propósito, like por un propósito, you know what I'm saying? And that kind of like, I know you mentioned a little bit about like what happens when the divorced families, but also I think within the Christian families, like the community that we're talking to is mostly the you know, youth that have been raised in Christianity and maybe have struggles with expressing to people around them, like, this is what I'm struggling with. And I think, well, actually, that's a good thing to bring up. Like, how do males express that they're struggling? Like, I feel like females, like, when we have, like, a good confidant, like a confidant, like, alguien que tenemos confianza, we tell them, like, it would be our friend, our sister, our mom, our aunt, whatever, right? Like, even a boyfriend, like, we let it out. But males, I'm not sure if that's, how does that, I don't know how that goes.
Yeah, most of the time, se quedan callados. They just stay quiet. They don't, you know, and sometimes it feels like, oh, you say something, you're weak. You know? Or you're afraid of what the other person might say. Or when you do say something, they might look at you like, man up, man, what's wrong with you? You know?
Yeah, so then en esa manera el enemigo les ataca de estar atrapados en su propio, like...
Y este es el problema de la generación también reciente, pero pasada, no tanta pasada, pero desde hace unos cuantos años, que traían a sus hijos a la iglesia. They bring their kids to church. And you thought that was it. Here, go to church. The kid's like, I don't want to be in church. So he has an attitude the whole class. He doesn't want to be there. And he thinks everything is dumb. And you know.
Está batallando entre sí.
Not even. He's just like, mad. He just doesn't want to be there. But you're forcing him to church. When did you sit down with him and kind of explain to him, this is why we go to church, man.
Why?
This is why we love God. This is why yada yada. You know? And it's more like, well, if you say you're a Christian, you and Dad are cussing each other out at the house. That's God.
Vivir por ejemplo.
And then he goes to church and he's upset because God thinks it's okay for mom and dad to be beating each other up at the house.
Yeah.
Pues es un ejemplo como dice, vete a la iglesia. Okay? Pero el chico está enojado, se está alegando con todos los maestros porque lo forzaste, no le diste a entender el por qué es necesario.
That's right. So I think that kind of goes down.
Entonces, sí puedo también añadir. Entonces, y es cuando viene que nunca tuvieron una relación con Jesús. They never had a relationship with Jesus. So now they're struggling. Because they're doubting that God is real. Because they never really had an encounter. So now I'm doubting my faith. I'm doubting my sexuality. I'm doubting who I am.
And that's one of the enemy's ways of getting you away from God.
Because I've always had a relationship with the world, but not really with God.
Yeah. I think that like, it kind of goes well with the next thing that kind of went through my mind, which was identity. And I think that, like, el ejemplo que yo tenía era en Esther. So Esther's story is, I'm gonna, actually, can you do me a big favor and just find it for me, because I can't move and think. But Esther's story is basically like, she was adopted. She didn't have a mother and father. I don't think it really explains as to why, like, she doesn't have a mother and father, but she was adopted by her cousin, which is Mordecai. And I could be incorrect because it could say uncle. And but that came to my mind of like, okay, this piece of identity, and she could have really struggled with that, right? That like she's being adopted, she doesn't have a mother and father. Like, who am I, right? And there's all kinds of youth like that in the world of like, I'm adopted. You say this and that, but like you don't know what it is to not feel like you're like you belong, or like what it is to feel a foreigner within your own home. And that actually could also apply to those that have their biological parents at home. But I think with that in mind, once you read the story of Esther, you realize that Esther fue nacida y fue adoptada, pero fue con propósito, right? De que de un propósito
ellos no entendieron el propósito.
Right, pero fue un propósito de que ella hizo una gran diferencia por una comunidad huge, like, but it was that she was going to be under this man's care. She was like, it was destined for her to be adopted by this guy.
We read it now, it's like the duh.
Yeah.
But you would have lived
but living in it,
yeah,
that's a whole different story.
Like, I don't get it. I'm worthless, you know.
Yeah.
What can I do?
Right, and like, who am I?
Yeah.
That who am I? Like, I'm not even with my mom and my dad. And so I think that the enemy tries to make you feel like that, tries to make you feel like you don't belong and that you're a foreigner in your own home. But what we forget is that we're not, kind of like, because I know in La Última Thursday's Thought, Yami was talking about that, like about how that you're not supposed to belong. This is not where you fit in.
Right.
And it's like, we're trying so hard to fit in here when it's, no, you're not trying to fit in here. You're supposed to fit in there. Like, él tiene un lugar para ti, ya preparado en una mesa allá.
Like, we would think it's silly if I was trying to put a square where a triangle belongs. But that's what we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that with that we struggle, or, you know, maybe it's not just a female thing, but like with the identity of like, where do I fit and where do I belong? And in the end, because it says, now I remember, like, so it says in chapter 2, verse 7. Thank you. So Mordecai was the legal guardian of his cousin, so it was cousin Adasa, that is Esther. Because she didn't have a mother or father, the young woman had a beautiful figure and was extremely good looking. When her father and mother died, Mordecai had adopted her as his own daughter. In verse 10, it says, Esther did not reveal her ethnic background or her birthplace because Mordecai had ordered her not to. Every day, well, I'm going to stop there because that's where I kind of want to focus. De que ella tenía que guardar su identidad, parte de su identidad, por, you know, it doesn't really say like Mordecai.
Peligro.
Right. Pero Mordecai no le explicaba por qué.
Oh, yeah.
Entonces, lo que me gustó es de que al final, now, this name of this king is so hard to say. I don't know. King Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus?
Acero.
Yeah, but in English. So,
Ahasuerus, yeah.
Yeah, so then, right, se Amán, or Haman in English, like, se hace un gran plan de que vamos a matar a todos los judíos y todo lo otro, right? And cuando se es revelado al rey, how do you say it? Acero, de que ella es judía, he doesn't have a desire to kill her. Do you know what I mean? It's other people in the community.
Y también, it was supposed to be that whoever will come talk to the king would die. So it's not just because she was a Jew, but because also you come and talk to me without my permission, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that in the end, it's not so much like she stayed quiet for a reason, as to not reveal her ethnic background for a reason. And in the later, obviously, it's revealed as to why Mordecai made that wise choice to keep her, you know, keep that part hidden. But in the end, it was like to be revealed that it wasn't the king's desire for her to die, or her people, right? Like, I'm fine with your people, but there's other people that are not okay with you, or not okay with the fact that you're here. So there's always like un enemigo que se va a levantar. So ese enemigo, digamos, Amán en esa historia, en la historia de nosotros, o de cada uno individualmente, right? Porque al final del día lo que nosotros estamos hablando es algo general, right? Nosotros no tenemos los mismos batallas, los mismos creencias, like we weren't raised the same way, right? So your atmosphere, the way that you were raised is completely different from mine. And the things that you've experienced and been exposed to is completely different from ours. So what we're doing is just a general, like, overarching thing. It's we can never go into the depths of what you're struggling with until you, like, yourself, you know,
would decide to have a conversation.
Right, like, would, but within that, even within that, the enemy will always try to make you feel like you're the only person struggling with that, but that's a lie. And so I forgot my train of thought of where I was going with that. I was talking about identity. And that she was,
she had to conceal her identity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of times, I think the youth can relate to that. You have to conceal how you really feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, a boy is starting to like boys, you know. Because you were just brought to church, because you didn't weren't explain why that's not okay.
You hide.
You hide.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, and that's what Satan, that's another tactic Satan does.
Mm-hmm.
Do not tell anyone, because you're gonna be expelled. You're gonna be the black sheep of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Your family's gonna disown you. And at some point, maybe,
Unfortunately,
it happens. Like, people don't understand, like,
how to handle it.
You know, like, you can't pray it out of people. That person's got to understand, right? Because you might feel like, I'm a woman. I'm 100% woman. Like, there's no question. Like, what is wrong with you, right? But it says, do not rely on your own understanding. Do not rely on your own knowledge.
Right.
Right? But listen to God. What did God do? God created man and woman, Adam and Eve. That's it. Why? To reproduce. Can two males reproduce? Can two women reproduce? No. Why? It's unnatural. Because it wasn't intended to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I'm not telling you you're going to be cast into hell. But here's the thing. It's unnatural. Right? But people are going to condemn themselves because they don't want to believe in Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you might feel like, well, who cares? I got freedom of choosing what I want. I got free will. Right. But we're all manufactured by one company.
Mm-hmm.
And that is John 3:16. Right? You might feel a certain way. You might feel completely different. But in reality, we all belong to one person. And we want it or not, we're all going to have to give accounts of what we did while we were here on the walk on earth.
And he has a purpose for all of us.
He has a purpose for all of us.
I think that's a huge piece, una gran manera que el enemigo trata de manipular o desviar.
He's just
big
deceiver.
time.
Yeah.
A todos, no solo a los jóvenes, sino a todos, de desviarlos del propósito que Dios tiene en ellos. Aún en hacerlos pensar de que no tienen propósito. De hacerles pensar, no tienes nada de dar o que dar, o nada de ofrecer, nada que puedes dar fruto, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I was thinking about Adam and Eve and how after they eat the fruit and everything like that, how the enemy like messed with her and everything like that, but also la manera de que Dios le dice de que ella ahora va, like, lo que viene después, I can read it actually. Mm-hmm. Pero al final el Señor le dice de que, well, like, talking to the devil himself, he says, like, de que
condemns the serpent. Yeah.
Right.
You
and
dust it,
yeah, exactly. Like, you'll hit her in the carcañal.
Mm-hmm.
And
bite her in the carcañal. And she'll step over your head.
Right. Hermano Baldo was just talking about that. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's just right on point, right?
Genesis 3:15.
That was right on the in the preaching on Sunday, where it kind of says a lot to the fact that, okay, you hurt me, like, as a female, to take that into account. Like, when the enemy tries to attack you, when the enemy tries to come against you, yeah, you hurt me, like, I'm not walking right, but you didn't you didn't break me down. Like, you didn't kill me. You didn't, I'm down, I'm limping, I'm whatever, but I'm not out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not out. I didn't tag. Like, I didn't tap out. And that's what I think is the big, una cosa tan grande que una mujer y también un hombre que tiene que tomar en cuenta de que aunque el enemigo trata y aunque uno aún siente
los logra desviar,
aunque están ahorita en este momento, sobre todo las cosas porque estamos en medio de la pandemia y no tienen la práctica como ir al gimnasio, no tienen la práctica de ir a la iglesia y tal vez solo en esa forma han podido estar conectados y ahorita te sientes como que el enemigo te tiene arrastrado como una escoba. I don't got nothing, I got control over nothing. El enemigo, encima de todo lo que ha pasado, right? Like, not only God knows what has happened in the past 4 months. Right.
What have you been through?
Right. He's going to say, now when you go back to church, it's not going to happen for you.
Yeah.
It's not going to...
Don't even dare step into
right.
that church.
Don't go into church. Don't go...
Look how filthy you are. Look how dirty you are.
Yep. Don't feel the guilt, the shame. Don't go reaching out to any of the brothers and sisters. Don't do
look
this
how
and
you
do that.
look.
Everything, right? All that... It's just all manipulation. It's a mind game. And what's interesting is that what's amazing is that God has control over all those things and of your life. Even if you did get to that point, even if the devil's tactics has had, way with you, you're there, right? You've
incarcerated.
Completely. What we know that at the end of the day, and what I was going with the female, is that you hit my carcanial, but I'm gonna get you back in the head.
I'm gonna step on your head.
Right. I know that el Dios de que yo sirvo tiene control sobre todas las cosas and has the ability, the power that you don't have. You only have the ability and the power to hit me in one spot, which is that's just one place.
All Jesus gotta do is get close to that jail cell and start shaking and start breaking down walls.
Right.
Woo!
So
we're not preaching that. But woo!
So I just think that's what, and I think that just not the female, but also for the male, just in general, right? And I think that also helps us go into the generational because we don't want to lose your attention because we know that 52 minutes is a long time.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys
but
stick it out all the way till the end.
I think that the generational part, that what we were talking about, right? When you were saying, I asked him, what are the points that you feel we should brush or address when it comes to generation? And I think yours were more on the kind of what I said before, es lo que está afuera, la sociedad que están viviendo, porque tienen que estar donde están viviendo ellos. Nosotros, la vida de nosotros o el high school experience que tú y yo teníamos o tuvimos is completely different from theirs, right? And even though we might say oh yeah, that's I know a little bit about that, no es comparado lo que ellos están
en la mente de ellos.
Right. Y una cosa de que sobre todas las cosas que me recuerdo de when we were young, es de que cuando nosotros, when we would get into problems, right? We would get into trouble or something. Not against each other, but we would get ourselves into some problems. We would never see past that day.
Yeah.
It was the end of our world. And so somebody for example, my parents might say you can't see him anymore. Oh my gosh. It was the end of our...
No, but this one time, I got pulled over. I had different tags on my car. I didn't have my license. I didn't have my registration. They impounded my car.
Oh my God.
They gave me a ticket for not having a license. They gave me 4 different tickets. I told the cop, I was like, dude, you ruined, in a lot less nicer words, I said, you ruined my life. This is it.
Porque no podías ver una solución. No podías ver más allá. Y eso es lo que pasa de que, right, your mind, el desarrollo de una persona. The way that you, right, so en ese, I'm not sure if that's just that age, right, or if it's a generational thing, pero que te atrapa de una forma de que yo no me puedo mirar más allá. Tengo, I can't see tomorrow. You just pulled me over with 4 tickets, and I picture myself in jail. I can't.
Yeah. And technically, the human brain does not stop developing until they're 25.
Yeah. So I think that makes a huge difference.
The fact that their brain is not fully developed might make them seem like there's no way out.
Yeah. And I think that with that, right? So I got off task for a second. So freedom, no, not freedom.
Yeah, like I said,
You were talking about the freedom.
There's too much freedom.
And I thought that was such a
it's very dangerous.
like you just that I didn't think of that. So you can talk a little bit about that. Pero de que habías puesto que la libertad es peligroso. Y de que yeah, go ahead.
Sí, porque like if you think about it, back in the day, people are saying it was tough being a Christian back then because you either die or you get eaten by lions. And I agree, that's tough. But it's also tough when you're able to do whatever you want. I can literally just touch the computer and get into like whatever I want.
There's no limit.
There's no limits. That you're free. Do whatever you want. That's dangerous. And if you don't know how to regulate yourself, if you don't know how to control yourself, you're like a person with just guns in your hand and just shooting away. Right? So freedom is very dangerous. Right? Not that we need to lock you up or anything, but we gotta be able to be wise on how we use that freedom. And how much is too much.
And I think that hay siempre límites en todo lo que hacemos. Like, I know that que muchos de nuestros jóvenes tienen hermanos chiquitos, hermanos, you know what I'm saying? So, ¿por qué es que tú como hermano mayor o hermana mayor le estás diciendo a tu hermano chiquito, like, no, don't touch that, or no, don't do this? Like, if you know that there's limits for things like that, then you should know that there should be limits to what you're doing. And even as adults, like as a married couple or as abuelo, I don't know. Like
sometimes you see like a dude smoking a cigarette or smoking weed, telling his little brother not to do it.
Yes. So that's so true. That makes such a huge difference.
You know what I mean? But sometimes to make yourself make you feel better about what you're doing, you allow him to do it. Because you want to feel good that you are not as bad. You know.
So I think that todo lo que está alrededor de los jóvenes le está dando, aún de que, like this may be me getting off topic, pero aún la manera de que la sociedad le ha dejado pensar a los jóvenes de que pueden faltar respeto a sus padres, a las autoridades,
a los mayores,
right? Y eso es algo de que para mí siempre ha sido, right? Like yo te respeto no porque la edad de que tienes, no por quién eres, what's your title, no, I don't care about all that. Te respeto porque eres humano. That's it. There's nothing else needed. Y yo espero que también me respeta porque I'm a human. That's it. Like, right? Let's be nice, humans. That's it. So, pero desafortunadamente como que hemos llegado a un momento de que los jóvenes se sienten de que tienen demasiado libertad. It's so much. But and it could be like a lot of people be like, absolutely, like there is a way to say things. If you feel because there's teachers or there's bosses that will disrespect youth because they're youth. I feel you. Like that, yep, they'll do that to you. Pero la cosa es que tú puedes ganar, right? You've always said this. Le puede ganar en su propio terreno. Right? In their what is this?
Yeah.
What did you say? The field, right? I'm going to beat you in your own field. You want to call me out in front of all my friends that I'm not paying attention in class and I'm laying down, like I'm falling asleep in class? Cool. All right. So then, cuando el momento llega de que you're going to do that to me, I'm going to be obedient. There's a certain way that you say it that I don't compare to the way I say it. You want to say it? Because I can't say it the way you say it.
I'm going to be obedient?
No, what is it that you say to the guys, to the people? Like...
To my youth?
Yeah, like when what is that you say with the ball field?
I'm going to beat you in your own field.
Eso, pero like that don't...
Oh, that is the biggest victory. Oh, when
yes.
When teachers, a lot of them, when they go to school, they have a specific teacher they hate, right? And they don't like talking to the teacher. I said, how about completing your work? And when she asks you for it, just hand it to her.
You get it quiet.
You know what I'm saying? You don't have to hear anything from her. If she makes a smart comment, okay, what is she gonna do? Completely, just don't have to get into you this, you that, just.
So yeah, I think that's what I.
And that's just one of the many examples that I've
given. And yo creo y eso es bueno porque cuando dijiste de que cómo es que ganas el enemigo o qué es la mejor victoria.
The best victory.
Ganando a la persona en su propio terreno.
In their own field.
Which is like Yeah, definitely.
That's a pretty cool analogy.
Yeah, it is.
Copyright. All right.
Pero también eso tiene que ver de lo que está alrededor de los jóvenes, right? Lo que está pasando hoy en día with their surroundings and your society. Lo interno, yo creo que hemos hablado mucho de con la identity, just struggling with the comparison and cómo el enemigo siempre trata de... Y it doesn't matter age, right? Because then you get to this thing of like, why would the enemy attack me? He's not attacking me. Yeah, he is. Yeah. So, llegamos a lo que es lo interior, right? Y I think I mentioned it in another Thursday's Thought where I had heard something like off of work that it said when your emotions are connected to your attention. So when your emotions are in the right place, you're able to pay attention and then you're able to learn. And then putting that more of a perspective, of spiritual perspective, yo estaba pensando de que el enemigo trata de cegar el propósito de cada uno de los jóvenes. Si ellos no tienen, si yo los tengo las emociones en todos lados, si tengo las emociones like just a mess, right? Entonces ellos no pueden poner atención a lo que es lo espiritual, a lo que es la palabra, a lo que es like tener un encuentro o una relación con el Señor. Porque mis emociones y todo lo que tú me estás diciendo, like, no me importa. So because my emotions are everywhere, no llego a poner suficiente atención a lo que Dios me quiere decir a mí o lo que Dios quiere hacer en mi vida. Y tampoco puedo llegar a aprender de Él. Puedo llegar a aprender de, aunque a pesar de todo lo que tengo alrededor, si no tengo un buen ejemplo, no tengo esto y lo otro, yo puedo aprender de lo mejor que es Él en la palabra. Right? Like, even if your surroundings are completely upside down and your situation is not what you expect or what people understand or this and that, trust me, like just like what we said, I thought that like la Hannah y la Penina, Ana and Penina, fue también un ejemplo de bullying, right? Like she's taunting her.
Yeah.
It's like just this, you use what you have, your authority or this or that, what you have, like you have kids so you think that you can do this to another human being. No, you don't do that. And there's that constant injustice in the Bible.
And with the youth, it might be as like, yo, my shoes are more expensive than yours.
Yeah, it could be little things that affect you. Like it's a long list
in a big.
Right. De que no te, right? Like for me, I know de que a mí no me gusta que like somebody ignores me, right? But that's a huge, because growing up, it fue una cosa tan falta de respeto, you know? So like I struggle with that, so then it messes with my emotions big time, right? And there's things that personally for you would attack you in a different way. So en todo eso, yo creo que en la generación de hoy en día, las emociones ha sido una cosa tan fuerte. Like it's crazy how strong el enemigo quiere manipular las emociones. De que en medio de un...
So you have no room to grow.
No, like it's crazy. Y también de llegar al punto de que la gente, like you said before, they hurt themselves, que se lastiman ellos mismos, cortándose, o llegando al punto de to attempt.
De atentar.
Oh yeah. Or fully.
Or intentar.
Yeah, intentar or actually commit suicide. That is something that is huge in this generation. And it's sad because we're losing souls.
Y eso es tan fuerte porque tenés tantas personas que te quieren o que velan por ti, que quieren estar contigo, que les caes bien, pero el enemigo te hace pensar que no. Nadie me quiere. Quiero terminar mi vida. O estoy solo, quiero terminar mi vida. Pero en realidad toda tu familia está ahí. Toda su familia está contigo. Es una mentira del enemigo.
Yeah, y eso es una gran táctica. Y yo creo que una vez nosotros habíamos tenido un convivio, ¿te recuerdas? De que habíamos al final del convivio, y yo creo que fuiste tú que me llamaste la atención, de que teníamos todos parados, right? Y yo les hacía preguntas. Y yo empecé con algo que todos podían participar, right? Like, did you brush your teeth today? Entonces pasaron enfrente, right?
Everybody participated.
So todos pasaron enfrente, right? Un paso para enfrente. Pero lo que yo hice, de que yo reconocí después, yo creo que me dijiste también, was that I sent them back. And I shouldn't send them back. But I sent them back, right? And so each question, they would see, like, who like, si tienes, si has llegado a la mente de que estás solo, que this or that, right? Like, it got deeper with every question. But I kept sending them back. Pero después pensé yo de que hubiera sido mejor si yo les hubiera hecho todas las preguntas y que that they would recognize they all would have been in the front together. De que cada uno han sentido que están solos, que de cada uno le han sentido de que han pasado por depresión, de que han tenido ansiedad, de que no saben lo que van a hacer, de que no se sienten suficientemente capaces o suficientemente bonitas o suficientemente whatever, right? Todos, everybody would have gotten to the front. And then it would have been like, you've all been fooled by the same enemy. He has used the same tactics on all of you, making you think that you're by yourself. Why? Porque alone es donde el enemigo te quiere. De que no tienes la confianza de decir a la otra persona, I'm struggling with this. Oh man, me too. Right? Like, let's pray together. Ahí sí que te derribas todo lo que el enemigo quiere poner contra ti. Pero lo que él hace, just one by one, I'm going to knock you all out. With the same thought.
Yeah.
He's not that, you know what I'm saying? It's all the same. I'm going to make them all feel like they're alone. Boom. You take out a whole rack of them. And for, like, with one thought.
Yeah.
Let me get a couple of them to hurt themselves. To do this, to do that. And they influence the other one. It's, el enemigo es puro tácticas para manipular a uno, para hacer lo que él quiere, en vez de lo que Dios quiere, para desviarlos, to distract them. Oh man, I'm gonna take a second. This generation is really distracted, right? This generation is distracted by social media, distracted by the what I want. Yo quiero llegar acá y así lo quiero, y eso es lo que quiero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they just lose themselves within the process. Es una cosa completamente like heartbreaking, I think. Pero eso no significa, aunque nosotros hemos tomado el tiempo de hablar de the devil's tactics.
Hopefully they watch all of it.
I know. I hope so.
It's very interesting, and
it's a lot.
It's a lot, but you know, we wish that we would be able to be there with you guys and kind of do it at the temple where we used to do it. But
and with your questions, so like that's kind of our point. That like as you see, this was more of a conversation, and we're talking to each other as we're talking to you guys.
yeah.
But
You're part of us.
Yeah. So in that sense, like we want to every once in a while, right? Like I don't want to commit myself to saying like every this many weeks, but like we have the 3 other topics that we really want to address, and we want your questions, right? To have like a foundation of to where are you guys thinking, and what is it that's weighing on your heart, or what are the things that we should consider, right? Because we are not you, right? We don't know the things that maybe you struggle with or what you're going through, so we need your help in you know, just finding the right guidance from God. So we appreciate your time. We hope de que ha sido de edificación
I really hope you watch it.
de que ha sido edificación para sus vidas.
Amen.
Y que sigan adelante, que por favor, que si se olviden de todo lo que hay aquí, de que se recuerdan de que, like you said, el Señor les ama de una forma sobrenatural. It's something that we can't understand and that we can't give back, right? It's a way that, and the best part of it, like I've said before, the best part of it is that you don't have to work for it. It's already been given to you. It's already been promised to you. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention about Rahab.
Oh, that's
a huge one.
Predicación para.
But just quickly, like she was a prostitute, and lo que me encantó, you said chapter 2 or chapter 3? Chapter 2?
2.
Chapter 2. If you just the title, it says she had a promise. So aunque ella había cometido tantos errores y había tenido una vida desagradable delante de los ojos del Señor, so, a pesar
lowest of the lows.
Right. So a pesar de lo que la sociedad decía de ella y que lo que ella estaba haciendo fue desagradable ante los ojos del Señor, todavía tenía promesa. Dios todavía tenía un propósito para ella. So, aunque ustedes sienten de que tal vez han batallado con ciertas cosas, that you guys are battling with
You're
certain
filthy,
things.
you're dirty, and there's no medicine for you. There's
That
no
is,
way out.
yeah, that is the essence of who God is. He is a redeemer. That's who he is. So there's no way, there's nothing, right? No shadow, no darkness, nothing.
Just like Brother Mevin said, the impossible for man is his comfort zone.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I like that. Copyright for him.
So we thank you guys for your time. God bless.
God bless you guys.
God bless you guys. We hope you enjoy.